What happens if your engine oil pressure light stays on after you've started the engine? Catch you inside.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you're enjoying the channel and the series of videos. Please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below. Check out the website RevelatorAlf.com and click the links in the description too, and that bell next to the subscribe button for all future videos. So in this video I'm talking about the oil pressure light on your instrument console on your Harley Davidson Softail. What does it mean? Well, there is an oil pressure switch on your motorcycle, and that detects whether there's a drop in oil pressure from within your engine. All simple stuff, you might think, but there are a few issues that you may want to consider if this lamp stays on after you've started the engine. Really, it should extinguish and you shouldn't see it for your whole journey or any time you've got the engine running. As soon as you turn the engine off, yes, that oil pressure switch will detect a drop in oil pressure and that lamp will come on. So let me just demonstrate here. Lamp goes out. Turn the engine off. And there we go. Because the engine isn't on now, you've got the oil low pressure light on. So what could be causing this oil pressure lamp to come on whilst the engine is running? Well, there are various reasons. So first of all, you could just have low oil level in your engine. So that's what you need to check first of all. Before you do anything else, check your oil level on your engine. The next thing to do is check for any oil leaks that you may have on your engine as well, because that could be affecting the pressurization of the oil system. Now check around your oil cooler, all your oil lines, see if there's any dripping oil from the engine, that kind of thing. If that all looks good, then actually it could be an electrical issue rather than a mechanical oil issue. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you need to consider. First of all, is it the oil pressure switch that is at fault, or is it the wiring? Okay, so where is the oil pressure switch? Well, I'll show you right now. Okay, so the oil pressure switch is located on the right hand side of the engine, and it's located right here. Here's your brake pedal on the right hand side here. Here's your exhaust, and it's hidden right beneath there, right there. That's where it is, there. And get a better look right here. Yes, apologies for my dirty bike, but that's winter riding for you. Anyway, let's move on. Now, if you took the bike into a Harley dealership, what they would do, they would go through a series of tests. Obviously, they will check the oil level and check for any oil leaks as well. But one of the first things they will do, they will check the integrity of that switch. They will check the continuity of the wiring. So it could be faulty wiring. It could be the actual switch itself that's at fault. Then they would actually check the pressurization of the system as well. And they kind of do that with a pressure gauge, for want of a better word. Something like this. No, it's not a red box. It's actually one of these pressure gauges. There we go, one of those. That's what it is. And you can get adapters to actually fit into there as well, into your pressure switch. But that's what they would be doing in the dealership. Now, the oil pressure of your motorcycle on the Harley Davidson Softails with an M8 engine runs at 5 psi when the engine is idle, and this is just within the normal operating temperature range of the oil and the engine, of course. Now, from idle to 2000 RPM, we're talking in the region of 35 to 45 psi. Now, the maximum psi for your oil pressure is 50 psi. And as I say, that is at a normal operating oil temperature at 110 degrees Celsius or 230 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, as I say, there could be various reasons why you're getting an oil pressure warning lamp come on. Now, it could be faulty wiring. It could be a faulty oil pressure switch and sending unit. It could be a damaged oil pump. Not enough oil is being circulated around the system, thus not enough oil pressure is being generated in the first instance. It could be a clogged oil filter element. It could also be the wrong type of oil that you're using for the ambient temperatures on which you're riding. The oil thickness, the viscosity could be wrong as well. Now it could be a broken or weak spring in the oil pressure relief valve, or it could be incorrectly installed O-rings in the engine as well. Now, as I say, if you did have this problem, then you would get a dealership to look at it, for example, or a mechanic to look at it. They would run up the engine until it reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 93.5 degrees Celsius, and then they would go through this whole testing process, checking the oil levels, checking the oil pressure switch, hooking up the pressure gauge to it as well, all that kind of thing. Then they would look at the electrical continuity, the electrical side of it. The other aspect of this that you've got to consider is, are you getting any error codes associated with this? Okay, so if you've got the oil pressure warning light come on, then you also need to check whether you've got a check engine light that comes on as well. And you need to check the error codes associated with it. Now, these will normally be P codes as well. There are a couple of P codes that will be generated by the ECM that you may need to consider. That is the P0552, and that is the engine oil pressure switch, and that's shorted in the low position. P0523, and that is the engine oil pressure switch shorted in the high position. P0117, and that is the engine temperature sensor, which is shorted in the low position. P0118, and that is the engine temperature sensor shorted in the high position. So if you've got the oil pressure warning light come on and you've got associated error codes with it, then that will give you a better idea of exactly what the issue is first of all. Now, one final thing about the engine temperature here. Whilst the oil pressure switch only measures oil pressure, there is a direct relationship between oil pressure and oil temperature. If you have a drop in oil pressure, then the remaining oil is made to work harder. That's why its temperature goes up. And that's why the engine temperature goes up as well. So let's say you have some kind of fault within the wiring, on the CAN bus system, on your Harley Davidson. There could be an ET sensor issue, there could be an oil pressure switch issue as well. There might be other error codes associated with it that would identify that there's a CAN bus problem rather than the oil pressure switch or ET sensor as well. So there could be other variations on the theme that are not directly linked to a mechanical issue, but it's rather an electrical issue or a CAN bus issue as well. But the most likely reason for getting an oil pressure warning light is because of low oil pressure itself, or it could be an oil pressure switch, which is literally just undo the bolt, take it out, put a new one in, and it should all be good. Check the wiring and see if any wires are broken. Replace the oil pressure switch and see if that makes a difference. If you've replaced the oil pressure switch and you've checked all the wiring and you don't have any error codes from your ECM, but you're still getting the oil pressure warning light, then you really need to have this investigated further. Certainly double check, triple check your oil levels, check the oil viscosity as well, maybe give your bike a full proper service, oil filter, and see if that changes anything. But essentially what you have is some issue with your oil delivery around your engine. So that oil pressure warning light is showing you that there is something wrong with the engine. I would not ride with that engine light on. You need to, if you're riding along and that comes on, pull over straight away. You do not want to be riding or risk riding an engine that has no oil in it or is losing oil. So that's one of the things that you need to consider. Pull over, and if you can't figure it out for yourself, then you're gonna have to call recovery or get it to a dealership somehow. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. There could be lots of different reasons why the oil pressure light is coming on. It needs to be investigated. I would never recommend anybody riding their bike with an oil pressure warning light come on. I am talking about the M8 engines here. I am talking about the Softail specifically. If you've got another type of Harley Davidson or an older type of Harley Davidson, you know, there might be issues there. Now, there is a final thing I want to tell you about an oil pressure warning light, what could throw it off or what could send it off. there could be an oil pressure, air pressure differential within your system. Now this sometimes could be caused by if riders or owner riders are installing engine temperature probes for their engines, and then there is a leak there's a leak in a hose or something like that, or a hose hasn't been clamped on properly. So that's why you need to check all your oil levels, you need to check all your lines, oil lines and everything. Make sure that everything is tight as it should be, because if there is a leak there, then that will upset the balance of within the internal pressures, and that will actually fire off your oil pressure warning sensor to the lamp as well. But anyway, hope you found that useful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had this kind of issue with your motorcycle, with your Softail, whether it's a sport glide or whatever it is, and what was the cause, what was the eventual reason for it. Anyway, right, I'm going to get back inside, out of this wind, but hope you found that useful. As I say, check out the website RevelatorAlf.com, click on the links in the description and the bell next to the subscribe button for all future videos. Bye now.
RevelatorAlf.